evening, good morning, wherever this video finds you. It's the Voodoo Doll, and this is going to be my third or fourth video on our Relationship 911 series. This is talking about the differences between emotional sexual and physical sexual and how we can bridge the divide when inevitably there is one, because there will always be one. In every relationship, you have the stages of honeymoon, plateau, and then unfortunately some of us go into the trauma stage. So I'm going to help you kind of figure out how you can reach the other person by speaking their language. A lot of times when we get together with people, we feel that we have everything in common, we speak the same language, we're so much alike. That is not true. That's not what's drawing you together. What's drawing you together is your oppositeness. Now, this person may present to be everything like you, but you'll really figure out who they are when you start having issues. Then you're saying, they're nothing like I thought they were in the beginning. That's not true. They were always who they were. You just couldn't see it, because when we meet each other, we put forth our best foot, or our representative, so to speak, and we try to mirror what we think the other person wants to see. So an example of that may be if you are a physical sexual, please refer to my other videos if you don't know what I'm talking about. Physicals are very outgoing and very forward, usually very talkative, extroverted, you could say. There's a lot more that goes into it, but those are the basics. When they meet someone who is an emotional, someone who may be a little bit more quiet, a little bit more reserved, they may tone down their physicalness to meet you where you're at. But when you have an argument or a fight, they get extremely physical in their personality. Not meaning physical as in hitting, but physical as in coming forward a lot, wanting to be really aggressive with talking, always wanting to be in your face. There's a lot of that is not characteristic of an emotional personality. They didn't see it in the beginning because the person presents themselves more emotional to match them. But that's not their primary behavior. That's their secondary behavior. On the other hand, another example would be an emotional. I'm an emotional. Emotionals can be very introverted. We think a lot. We're in our head a lot. We're not as physical. Physicals act with their body. They put their body outward to protect their mind. Emotionals are always in their head. They put their thoughts and their emotions first to protect their body. So say if you met me in a social setting and we started dating, I'm very gregarious and talkative. I'm kind of low on the emotional spectrum. I actually can have a conversation and make jokes and be the center of attention. But when we started dating, I may be a little bit more reserved. We may go out and I'm not the center of attention and I'm just sitting back and letting you take the skylight or the sunlight or whatever it is. And you start thinking, wow, you're not as outgoing as you were when I first met you. But that's not true. I was always that way. I just presented myself as more physical and outgoing because I subconsciously picked up that that's how you are, and I presented myself that way. But if issues arise or when the honeymoon stage is over, I revert back to who I am, which is normally quiet, reserved, in my head. So when we get into these relationships, we have to realize that it is our different factors that are drawing us to our partners. So it's not that they've changed, it's just now they're putting forth their primary behavior. Their secondary behavior is what attracted you. So I'm just going to read you some things. The lists I'm going to read are physical characteristics and emotional characteristics. Listen to this video as many times as you need to, but what I want you to do is I want you to grab a sheet of paper and an ink pen, and I'm going to read off things. If you think that you're an emotional, you watch the other videos and you're like, I think I'm an emotional sexual. When I read something from the emotional sexual list that you feel like you embody, then go ahead and write that down. These are the characteristics out of the emotional sexual traits that I embody. These are my primary characteristics. Now I'm going to read the opposite. So the physical sexual. This would be your partner because we attract opposites. So most likely if you're an emotional, you're dating a physical. I'm going to read the physical characteristics. Write down the physical characteristics that you do not have, the opposite that you don't have. Don't write down the ones that you do have. Write down the ones that you don't have, because we all have some of each side. Nobody's 100% the thing. What you do not have is what you need to focus on when you get into breakdown and trauma and discord with your partner. Because if they are the opposite, that is how you're going to be able to communicate with them. Let me break it down a little bit further. If, for example, I say, I'm reading the emotional list and, emotionals, introverted, reserved. Okay, we have all that. And then I go to physical, wanting to reach out during conflict. Okay, I know I don't have that trait. Then you would write that down, wanting to reach out during conflict. If I read, buys gifts that the person actually wants, not just things that are practical. Oh, I don't do that. I don't buy gifts at all, actually. So I'm going to write that down. When you're in discord and you're having problems with your partner, you're going to look at that list of shit that you do not have in your own personality type, that are your opposites. And those are the things that you're going to use to bridge the gap. So I'm not a person that buys gift. I'm having a little bit of trauma and discord with my mate. I'm going to buy them a gift to say that I am sorry. And I'm going to reach out first and initiate communication, which is normally not an emotional trait. Normally emotionals are in their head and they wait to be reached out to. They'll sit and brood. They may want to talk to the person, but they're not going to pick up the phone and dial. They just won't. Or they'll sit there and get upset that the other person isn't reaching out because they don't know how to reach out. So your oppositeness is what you're going to go to when you're having trauma with your partner. So let's go through these lists and I'll give you some more examples. So what we're going to start with is I'm going to read the emotional sexuality traits. If you feel like you are an emotional, you are going to write down the things that I say that you feel like you exhibit. These are the things that your partner experiences of you. These are these things. The other things that do not fit your personality are not what he is experiencing or she is experiencing of you, because you don't normally put that forward. Anything you put forward exacerbates when you're in trauma. So if you are introverted and you are in trauma, you become more introverted because that's your primary personality type. So when confronted with drama or strife, or you have an argument with your partner, you become more introverted. You pull away more. A physical doesn't understand that. If they are physical, they're extroverted and they push forward. So if they're in trauma, they become more extroverted and they push forward more, which means they're blowing up your fucking phone. They're showing up at your job. They've texted your mom. They called your sister. They have the dog on their side. That's a physical. You're not used to that. So they push forward and then you retract even more, and there starts the dance. The more I push forward as a physical, the more you retreat because you're not about that shit. You need me to get out of your face, but I don't understand that because half the time we haven't verbalized that to our partners. When in an argument, this is what I need from you. I need you to give me space to think because I'm in my head. You think outwardly. You wear your emotions on your sleeve. I don't. So in discord and in strife, I need you to give me some time and let me think, and I will reach out to you when I'm ready to discuss the issue, which is not like an emotional. We normally don't reach out, but I am going to reach out just to let you know that I'm overthinking and that I'm ready to move forward, and not have the physical take it offensively. Oh, we can only talk when you're ready. It's not a rejection thing, and it's not a thing of control. It's a thing about, this is how I function. You cannot change your personality type. If you're emotional, you're going to be emotional to the day you die. If you're physical, you'll be a physical to the day you die. I told you in the last video that we learn these from our secondary caretaker. Our behavior is who we pattern it after, who is our significant second caretaker. So if in a traditional family, mom is primary, usually dad is secondary. So we act like our fathers, but we marry our mothers, male and female. We marry our mothers. Our mother is who taught us how to listen. Our fathers are who taught us how to act. So you can't change your personality type, but with proper communication and learning about yourself, you can allow your partner to understand you better, but you have to understand yourself first. So let's go through these lists. An emotional sexual. Again, you're going to write down what resonates with you. If you are emotional, write down what parts I read are you. If you are a physical and I am reading the emotional, you're going to write down what parts you do not possess, the ones that you don't have, because those will be the ones that your partner has, is most likely he's the opposite. So here we go. Emotional sexuality. Introverts expression of emotion, prefers socializing one-on-one. Realistic, logical, and expresses self logically. Thinks things through before reacting. Priority is business. Their priority is business, not the relationship. Capable of expressing affection only in private when the mood is right. assumes all is okay unless told otherwise. They cannot read the inference. If you do not tell an emotional that there's a problem in the relationship, they will not recognize it until it is too late. They do not give or need pats on the back. They enjoy working alone. They enjoy individual sports. Comfortable with intellect. Dresses to minimize attention to the body. Decisive after weighing all consequences. Head ruled. Speaks literally, hears inferentially. Direct and to the point. Tends toward obsessive compulsive behavior. Sexually under-demanding. Enjoys working with the mind. Affectionate only in private. Naturally takes the initiative in business more than in the relationship. Prefers to hire help to fix cars and things around the house. Feels emotional pain mentally. Feels relief at the end of a relationship. At the end is preceded by trauma. Chooses practical gifts for partner. Needs own space and interest and gives partner the freedom to do the same. Enjoys sports with an element of danger. Prefers practical economic cars, and good in crisis, does not fall apart under stress. So I made a mistake there. They do learn inferentially. They learn inferentially. They speak directly. So if any of those resonated with you as an emotional, you write those down. Those are what your partner's experiencing of you. And if you're in trauma, take those times 10. That's what your partner is experiencing of you. If you're physical and you're dating an emotional, you're going to write down the things off that list that you do not have, because those are the ways that you're going to bridge the gap between you and your partner. So now we're going to go to the physical sexuality list. Physical sexuality. If you're physical, you're going to write down the things that resonate with you. If you are an emotional and I'm reading the physical, you're going to write down the things that do not apply to you that I say. Extroverts expression of emotions. Enjoys socializing in groups. Expresses emotionally. Reacts spontaneously. Priority. Intimate relationship. Expresses affection freely. Asks for reassurance and compliments when needed. Enjoys working with people. Enjoys team sports. Comfortable with their body. Dresses to maximize attention to the body. Decisive and spontaneous. Heart ruled. Speaks inferentially, hears literally. Verbose. Flexible in attention to details. Sexually responsive at all times. Enjoys working with hands. Affections in public and in private. Naturally takes the initiative in social, sexual, and relationship concerns. Prefers to fix car, things around the house, etc. Feels emotional pain physically. Feels emotional and physical pain at the end of a relationship. Chooses gifts they think their partner should have and would like. Likes to include partner in all activities. Enjoys sports that provide opportunities to socialize. Prefers sporty fun cars. Creative and romantic. Lets out the emotion of the moment. Lets you know where you stand. So knowing these two differences help us know what we need to back off of and what we need to step up when we have discord and trauma in our relationship. Let's do another example. When a physical is in a relationship, the relationship and sex is the most important thing to them. In the honeymoon stage, an emotional will be very sexual. They present like physical. They present like they like to have sex all the time too. When the relationship plateaus, the emotional will revert back to their natural personality type, which is only liking sex every 3 to 7 days, if then. Their main focus after a relationship is stabilized is their prior life. It's their business, their job, whatever they were doing before, they revert back to that. Now that my relationship is stable as an emotional, I don't need to put so much energy into dating, courting, and sex because it's stable. The person isn't going anywhere and I feel safe. So now it's time for me to withdraw energy from here and put it in the areas that I was neglecting to pursue this relationship, because how I was pursuing the relationship is out of my normal primary personality. I hope you're understanding that. It's out of their normal primary personality. They're not a very sexual person. So they revert back to who they are, their primary personality, and now they're free to go ahead and pursue business. It's nothing personal. It's not a rejection. It's how they are. It's how I am as well. I am business focused. Now, when a physical gets into relationship, sex is the main thing on their mind. It's what they want to do all the time. When the relationship stabilizes, they become more physical. They probably tone it down in the beginning because they don't want to scare or turn the person off, but when they get stable, they want more sex. So for a physical to not be able to have sex every day like they were in the beginning, they think something's wrong. And what that does is it makes them turn up their physicalness, which makes the emotional run the other way because they're more in your face. They're trying to have sex with you more because they're trying to connect. So she rejected me on Friday, so I'm going to try 10 times on Saturday, which completely sets the emotional off. Now, what I would implore you to do as a physical, if you are dating an emotional and you get to the plateau stage where sex is just non-existent, back the fuck off. That's the best advice I can give you sexually. Back off. Try to do more activities and more touching that don't always lead to sex. An emotional woman, even an emotional man, hates to be touched with the expectation of sex. And physicals always do that shit. Trying to give you a massage and 2 minutes into the massage, their dick is out. No emotional woman responds positively to that because it makes them feel preyed upon. They don't like to feel preyed upon. If you watch my other videos, you know that emotionals don't like the expectation of sex looming over them. So as a physical, if you look at your list and you say, okay, I have all these traits, and then you look at your emotional side and look at the things that you don't have, you would start stepping those things up. So one of the things that you do not have is introvertedness, likes to work alone, then you'll start working on that. When your when your emotional partner pushes you away as a physical, then you're going to stop trying to push sex on this individual. You're going to start doing hobbies and sports and going out with friends and doing things alone and giving that person more space. You're going to start doing romantic things with this person without the expectation of sex. Maybe even sending them to get a massage and not doing it yourself, or doing the massage and not trying to have sex with them. Massaging them, allowing them to feel safe and not like a sexual object to be jumped on and humped on, allowing them to feel safe and sexual in their own way, and then reciprocating that if they feel like it in that moment, and if they don't, not giving them an attitude, allowing them to enjoy that massage, and then possibly moving into some cuddling. Think about what you were doing before you were not a virgin anymore. You guys are jacking off left and right. You revert to that when things go wrong in your relationship and someone's not responding to you sexually. You forcing yourself on them and trying to make it an issue makes it a bigger issue, and you lose your relationship. On the emotional side, if we are emotionals and we are dating physicals and things start to go in the trauma stage, we look at our list of things that we don't have on the physical. Okay, I'm not very physically sexual. So that may be me reaching out and initiating sex to my partner, even when I do not feel like it, not in the mood at all, but I'm going to initiate it at least once a week to allow my partner to feel loved, to feel revered, to feel special, because physicals always need physical connection. Just remember that. It's physical connection. If there's no body contact or connection there, then there's trauma for them. So we're going to connect with our physical at least once a week, doing something spontaneous, not trying to be so scheduled in our sex. Emotional is kind of like, okay, well, maybe on Sunday we can do it after the kids go here, and then we can do this. Physical is like it spontaneously, trying to be a little more giving in that way. If we are very emotional and we know that we tend to shut down, then we look at our list of physicals, like attention, and they like verbal confirmation that everything is going well. Okay, so I'm going to pick that one because that's not on my list. I don't have that. So I'm going to try to embody that. I promise you, if you just start working on those two things, being able to own everything that you have, and knowing that your partner most likely doesn't have those, look at their list, look at the things that are missing from you and your personality that is present in them, and start mirroring them, you'll bridge the gap. You'll actually stop a lot of trauma before it starts. Some of the reasons that you're in trauma is maybe you're just not meant to be together. That's something completely different. But for those that are in relationships that do work and you do get along, you have to learn how to play the polar opposite. Because if you keep being just who you are and this is who I am, take it or leave it, they are going to leave it, because it doesn't vibe with them. it's too much of a change from the beginning. So you have to be able to still mirror certain traits and continue those certain traits that you had in the beginning, with reason, of course. You know, no one wants to feel like they're just being used and doing everything to please their partner and doing nothing to please themselves. That's where communication comes in, letting your partner know, you know, I'm not a very highly sexual person. I really only prefer to have sex once a week. So before we move in together, is that something that's going to bother you? Because before, if you're not living together and you see each other twice a week only, you have 5 days to yourself. So those 2 days that you see your lover, you guys probably have sex and it's enjoyable. This person is expecting that to continue every day if you are to move in together. You need to express to them, hey, if we do move in together, we're still only having sex twice a week because this is how I function. I'm not a highly sexual person. And if I were put into a position where I was preyed upon or sex was expected of me constantly, I would go into breakdown and our relationship would enter into trauma expeditiously because I'm not going to, I can't change my sexuality. I cannot. You know, I can't function having sex every single day. It's just would make everything else in my life suffer. And that's what happens. If you force emotionals to have sex every day or to go out and socialize, things that they're not good at and that's not in their scope, they suffer in other ways. So you may have won by making them have sex with you that day and they didn't want to, but the next day they're withdrawn or they're working extremely late, not coming home from work anymore until you're asleep. They figure out ways to get around it, and then it furthers the breakdown because you forced them to do something they didn't want to do instead of being patient and figuring out other ways to be intimate with your lover. Sex is not the only way to be intimate with your lover. In regards to forcing an emotional to go out and be super social or to be the football coach for their dad's team or their kid's team, and they don't want to do that, it will take other things and you'll suffer. Sex will be gone completely because they've used all their physical skills that they've had. Say they have 30% physical, they use 35% on that football field and they have nothing to give when they get home. They have nothing because they're not social people. And they've used every iota of energy in that reserve that they had being the football coach. So now they can't have sex for 2 weeks because they're coaching. So you have to understand that. And if coaching the football team is more important to you, then you have to realize that you have to take a loss and understand when they don't want to have sex and not guilt them for it, because for you, it's a beneficial situation because you want them to be out there, out front and be that football dad or to accompany you to this work party. You have to understand that they have to recuperate. So that may mean no sex for 2 weeks, and it may mean that they just want to be alone in their man cave or their she cave for a weekend, and you have to accept that because you have to accept who they are. And vice versa. We could talk all night about going back and forth, but I really wanted to get your mind thinking and the wheels turning about how we have to embrace our oppositeness, the things that are missing to be able to keep our relationships from going into the trauma stage. A plateau in a relationship is a welcome change. Some people get so, out of sorts when things change. Things are going to normalize. The honeymoon stage does not last forever. The only time a honeymoon stage lasts forever, and I'll tell you this, is if you don't live together. Not forever. It will take a little while to break down, but it'll last longer. And if somebody is a mistress, because that guy is not seeing her all day long, she's seeing him at his best, and they can stay on that honeymoon stage for 25 years because she doesn't see him at his worst. His worst is with his wife. All his stress and all his arguments are with his wife. When he's with the mistress, it's happiness and joy, sex, excitement. They stay in the honeymoon stage, sometimes forever, unless the mistress tries to move into more of a girlfriend type role. Then they will go into the trauma stage and plateau as well too. So that's something to get you guys thinking. Like I said, 2022 is going to be your absolute year. It's going to be the best year in your relationship, the best year of your lives. It's going to be the year that you really start expressing your concerns. It's going to be the year that you walk away from people that no longer serve you and start attracting people that do serve you, and being able to communicate what you need and hear and receive what other people need, and avoid these unnecessary trauma stages that have you guys doing come back to me spells every 2 weeks, a new guy. Oh, I need it on this guy too. We're not, I hope to never see any of my clients again. I would love that, because it means that you learned something, and now that you're not in, you know, a state of breakdown anymore that's going to keep repeating over and over again. So we will work on this again. Watch this video as many times as you need, but we're going to get it right. So we will get it right, I promise you. So I will see you guys soon in the next couple of weeks, and we'll go over some more tips and things that we can do to keep our relationships in the honeymoon stage as long as possible. And if and when they enter into the danger zone and trauma, getting them back out of trauma and at least to plateau, if not honeymoon again. So take care, and I will see you guys soon. Bye.